Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you my Fluffal deck profile. Finally, I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, the two people who watch my videos have been asking for this deck profile, and I've been putting it off since I don't really have the perfect deck, I don't think. I don't think I'm an authority on this subject, but I figured I'd make the video anyway. Hopefully you can take everything you see here with a grain of salt. The best thing I think for playtesting or for deck building is playtesting. Just mess around on YGO Pro with different ratios, and you'll figure it out. But this could be a good starting point for you. I'm gonna call this a budget deck because you can get it for under $100 thanks to recent reprints. But you could make it even cheaper, but then you pretty much wouldn't be able to compete with the meta, and this can probably barely compete with the current meta as is. And I'll talk about some cards that if you really want to drop some big bucks to make it better, what you can get. So let's get started. So pretty much undisputed 3 of in the deck, Fluffal Dog. I mean, it's as basic a starter card as it gets. You want this card in your starting hand. If you've watched my combo videos, you know that pretty much every combo can be started with or needs this card in your hand. Usually you're normal summoning it, but there are some interactions that come up sometimes where you special summon it, and thankfully you can still activate its effect. It's normal or special summoned, which is great. And yeah, that doesn't come up super often, but when it does, you're usually going to have a good turn or OTK. It's a good sign if you're getting the special summon off. Next, 3 Penguin. I've ran this at 2. I don't know if I've ever run it at 1, but right now it's at 3 because of Dolphin and the synergy with the water types making totally awesome. But also, both of Penguin's effects are useful. Being able to special summon from the hand. You'll find that Fluffals have a lot of gas when they have their fusion spells, but without the fusion spells, you're kind of struggling to do anything, and Penguin's one of those few cards that can get you some special summons without fusion summoning. And then, of course, draw 2, discard 1, fix your hand. It's a good card. And you can... Oh, I forgot. A nice interaction with this is you can summon it, use its effect to special summon another Fluffal, and then link it off or fusion summon it, and then eventually you'll have Cross Sheep on the field. You can bring Cross Sheep back, or you can bring this card back with Cross Sheep, and then you can use its effect again, since it says this effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. So that means when it comes back, it's like it never used it that turn. So you can do that. I think I mentioned that in my combo video too. Fluffal Bear at 3. This is basically so that you can run 6 toy vendors. Fluffal Bear's really good turns 1 and 2. The deeper you go in the game, it can be a make or break card because of toy vendors' worse effect, where you can reveal the top card. That could sort of swing the game in your favor if you guys are in a top deck war, but other than that, you want Fluffal Bear in your opening hand so you can do the Bear Wings combo. So you have draw power. Its other effect comes up not so often, but it is good when you've used up all your polys in the late game. You can bring this back with different types of cards and then get your last poly to maybe push for game if you couldn't OTK. It's a good card. You want to see it in your hand turns 1 and 2, which, those are the only 2 turns that matter for this deck. 2 Wings. I played this at 3. I brought it down to 2 because of Dolphin giving you easy access to it, and also just Fluffals in general. There's so much search power with Dog and Toy Vendor, and Bear's searching Toy Vendor, and Wings' zone effect where you draw and you send a Toy Vendor. There's so many ways to get certain Fluffals in your hand. I don't really miss the 3rd one, but yeah, Wings is super important for draw power. You need to play at least 2, I think. 2 dolphin. I don't really know if that's the right ratio for this, but dolphin and penguin in your opening hand will allow you to go into toad, of course, and then also you can pretty much, I think you do get the wings combo off of that. Yeah, because so you do get the full wings draw power, and you get a totally awesome on the board with this plus penguin in your hand. So it's really good. Yeah, it just sets up the wings combo, and its other effects okay. Recycle, poly to deck, it's fine. One sheep. It's another one of those cards that's can get you some gas that's not fusion summon, so you can special summon this from your hand when you have another Fluffal. Usually use this to make cross sheep. Its other effect actually does have some utility, especially when you're missing a edge imp. What it does is you can basically swap a Fluffal, throw a Fluffal on field into your hand to special summon an edge imp from your hand or graveyard. So it's a pretty good way to get an edge imp on the field. Usually you use that if you need an edge imp to summon one of the fusion monsters that requires an edge imp, so anything other than Sabertooth, and you don't have any in your hand, but you have one in the graveyard. So that's when you use its second effect. Cat is, if you've watched the combo videos, you know Cat is super important for your combos, but without the combos, it's not super useful. It really has one use. That's why you run it at 1. You don't really want to draw it. You want to be searching it. That is why we run it 1. So that's it for the Fluffals. I'm going to try to go a little faster. So Chain is the best edge imp by far. It's good in the hand. It's good in the graveyard. It's good everywhere. Everywhere you can stuff it. It has a really lenient effect. You can pretty much any discard effect will proc it, so that's why a lot of cards have really good synergy with it, and it just makes the deck a lot more versatile because with Chain in hand and you haven't activated its effect yet, any discard it goes from being a neg to like a trade-off because you get to search like one of your best cards in the deck, Fright for Patchwork. Yeah, it's a really important card. The combo videos, you're usually running through at least one chain. I think I've had certain turns where I've used all 3 chains. It's a great card. The battle effect never comes up. Scythe at 2, I don't love Scythe, but in this meta you really need some sort of card to interact with your opponent other than the other hand trap that we're running, and this is a decent one. To stop mediocre decks that will die to 1 pop. I'm not saying that this is gonna stop like Zoo Eldritch or whatever is top tier right now, Dragon Link. Definitely not at all. But it is something for Fluffal to beat out the decks that are sort of on its level. And the protection effect is pretty good. If that protection effect allows you to stick a monster going into your turn on turn 2, that could give you the little extra push you need to OTK, so that's kind of useful. Sabers is at 1, but it does have a lot of utility with its super versatile graveyard effect. You can use it to link summon if you really need it to. You obviously need it for Tiger, and Tiger is really important for blowing up your opponent's board. But it doesn't really have that many other uses, so we run it at 1. Don't really want to see it. We'd rather search it with Dog, or it's searchable with Vendor as well, so like it's basically a Fluffal in terms of searchability. You can search it with almost anything. So our hand traps, 3 Nibiru. This is probably the most expensive card in the deck now, thanks to reprints. This card was insane a couple of formats ago, and now it's not as good, I think. But pretty much if you Nibiru a deck that can't recover from Nibiru, so like not Dragon Link, and then it's your turn, you pretty much can win from there because of Fluffal's OTK capability. So that's pretty much your game plan with this card, is you sort of want to time it so that you end your opponent's turn, and then you come back and destroy them with your OTK. It's a straightforward card. Yeah, you can. I'll talk about things that you can do if you don't want to pay that much. It's like, this is $9, this reprint. You can tell I'm cheap, so I got the cheapest version. Yeah. So, okay, moving on to spells. 3 Patchwork. Best card in the deck, in my opinion. It is so free. Every time I draw this or play this, my brother gets mad because it's so good. It is really obvious, bottleneck, though. If your opponent reads your cards at all, they'll probably stop this card. And unless your hand is good, if this card gets negated, you're kind of SOL. So it's a really, really good card, but you kind of need it to go through most of the time, unless your hand is good. Thankfully, you have good draw power, but yeah, it's a card that you really want to go through. It's amazing. Toy Vendor is the second best card in the deck. Super broken. Not once per turn with the search effect. So again, this card is similar to Chain in that pretty much any discard effect will proc its search, which is just insane. And it's not once per turn, so you could essentially get 3 Fluffals or Edgem Saber searches in one turn with this, which I have done. I have used all 3 Toy Vendors in a turn many times. The Gamble effect is really good when you get it. It sucks when you discard a Patchwork or a Poly, but there are some actually good discards. Like if you reveal Chain, that's a plus. Another Toy Vendor, you could get a bonus from that. So it is a risk reward, but there are some cards in the deck that actually could plus you off of that. So that's why it's sometimes worth activating, but not often. Fool's Burial Goods, I've played with this at 2 recently, but I brought it back to 3 with the recent ban list. It gets you your Toy Vendor search. If you dump Toy Vendor, simple as that. That's what you're using it for. With the new spell card, you can dump that. I'll get to that in a second. 3 Poly, don't have to explain that one. 2 Fright for Fusion, I used to play this at 1. I play it at 2 now because if you draw it and your hand is sort of bad otherwise, it could save you and allow you to make a True King when you previously couldn't. That's pretty much it. If you draw this and then you have enough gas to make 1 whale, Fright for Whale, then you can make True King because you can just banish the materials you used to make whale to make True King. So that's kind of why I run it at 2. It is searchable with Chain. So yeah, it's good in your hand though for what I just said. And then the one-ofs, Fright for Repair is a newer Fright for spell card. It's another target for Foolish Burial Goods. Its graveyard effect is better than its other effect. So its graveyard effect is you can banish it to special summon a Fluffal or Edgent monster from your hand. Again, this is one of those few cards in the deck. I think the other 2 were Sheep and Penguin, where you can special summon something without like going through a fusion. So it gives you some extra gas there. And then its on-field or its other effect is not really that good. I don't know if I've ever even used it. And then Called By was probably one of the most important cards of the deck before it got limited. Bring it back, Konami. What the fuck are you doing? Alright, so that's the deck. No traps. We're modern. Moving on to the extra deck. The best card, mascot of the deck, Sabretooth. It's really simple. It brings back a Fright for Fusion monster from your graveyard, and you need one to summon it, so you're pretty much always going to be able to get its effect off. The indestructible effect that you get when you use 3 or more materials was really good last format when Dragon Buster Destruction Sword was legal. Now it's not, so it's not as good, but again, against mediocre decks that hopefully you're only playing Fluffal because you have cool friends that want to play cool decks and not just play the top tiers. The indestructible effect can come in handy and possibly clutch you out some games. So it's just all around good card. I would consider running it at 3 over some of the other cards in this deck for sure. 2 Fright for Whale. This is purely for True King. It does have some other utilities, like being able to dump another Fright for monster so that you can get a Sabertooth without actually having to wait for a summon if you use Fright for Fusion. So like you could dump Frightful Wolf or something, and then you don't even have to like send anything else. You just if you have Fright for Fusion in hand, banish the fusion monster you just sent with Whale and another Fluffal monster, and then you have a Sabertooth. So that's cool. The pop effect is what you use in tandem with Scythe. So Kraken is really important. It is part of your OTK combo, which I went over in the combo video. It can attack twice, it can pop. Its pop is not a hard once per turn, so when you bring it back with Sabertooth, you can pop something else if you need to, although ideally you wouldn't, because if you do pop something else, then you can't attack twice directly. That actually comes up a lot, is if you're in a position where you're not going to be able to OTK at all, but you still want to clear their board, something you can do is pop one card, and then you, as long as they have 2 monsters that Kraken can beat over, you're good to go. It can attack both, so it only restricts attacking directly. One Tiger, I have another one, I'm not running it right now, but Tiger is really good when you can summon it. Usually you're summoning it when your hand was already gonna really good and probably gonna win you the game. So it's kind of a win more card, but it also can get you out of things. It's a good comeback card, I guess, because it can blow up your opponent's whole field. Like I don't think there's a limit to how many cards it can pop. So it's a good card. So Wolf is another boom card where it can attack, I think. Attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon. This card also requires sabers, so it's definitely worse than Tiger, but it could come up and it could end up getting you an OTK where you couldn't with just the usual Sabertooth Kraken combo. So it is an OTK enabler. Fright for Sheep. This is a sort of niche card. I don't summon it that often, but it can be useful when your hand is really bad. Generally, when your hand is so bad that you can only summon one Fright for monster, which hopefully is less than like 5% of your games, you pretty much just want to summon this. This is what I usually end up summoning, unless you can make a 3-mat Sabertooth, but usually you can't if your hand is that bad. Daredevil, yeah, this card can definitely be cut for a third Sabertooth. I like it because it has some decent utility in its attack stat. It's 3k, which is the biggest Fright for monster without any buffs. Of course, a lot of Frightfurs have passive effects that increase attack, but if you can only summon one Frightfur and you need to beat over something big, this is the one to do it. It's 3k. Its effect is not very useful. It's burn, so yeah. The art is cool though. Alright, so that was it for the Frightfurs for the fusion monsters. We got the most broken card that you play other than Nibiru. VFD, hopefully I don't have to explain this. This is your win con going first. If you drop this, your goal is to win from that. I mean, now that Destruction Sword is banned, we don't really have another play other than Totally Awesome. So this is your go-to for turn 1. And then Abyss Dweller, this is a decent card to play against certain decks. This could definitely be something else. Now that Appaloosa is reprinted, it's pretty affordable, so you could replace this with Appaloosa, and I imagine that would probably come in handy more often. So yeah, I'd consider switching this for Appaloosa. I don't have one yet, physically, but yeah, Abyss Dweller is good definitely against mediocre decks, like I've been mentioning. Then we play this combo, Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome. I mentioned this earlier with Penguin and Dolphin. You can summon Totally Awesome, and Totally Awesome is a very good card. And then lastly, Cross Sheep enables a lot of extensions. It is another sort of win more card. I mean, it can be integral to some combos, like I showcased in my second combo video, I think. But usually, if you're summoning this and you have, the gas to follow it up, you're gonna win. So that's it for the extra deck. I'm gonna go over the side deck, but I want to give you a caveat of again, this is a budget list. I don't have a lot of the expensive top meta cards right now, and this side deck is pretty tailored to handling the people I currently play with, which is my brother mainly. And I'd encourage you to adjust your side deck based on who you play, unless of course you're a regional national player, then why are you watching this video? But 3 Kaiju, Gamma Seal to be precise. This card is really good. If you can't clear their board with Nibiru, if they have some sort of card that gets past Nibiru or ignores Nibiru or some sort of indestructible beast, usually this Kaiju can handle that. Lancia, this is used to be a better card. Now I don't think it's that great, but it does completely shut down some decks that really rely on banishing or their graveyard in general. My brother plays a lot of DDDs, and this card is pretty good at stopping them. Not perfect, but it helps. And then going second, Blowout strategy that, again, a couple formats ago was really viable, and now not as much. So the Super Poly package, I actually don't know if Super Poly is still unlimited. Hopefully it is. If not, sorry. It's a broken card. You can't respond to it. It is really good in this deck, especially because of the whole discard stuff I mentioned earlier with Chain and Toy Vendor. So sometimes the cost isn't even a real cost because you can plus off of it. And then these are the best to run with it. This one, you just need 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types. So that is the most generic one you can pretty much run. And this one is 2 dark monsters on the field, which also very common. It's an okay package. A lot of decks have ways to avoid it, but I would consider maining this even. I have mained this a lot, but I don't play against a lot of top tier strategies, so I'm not super aware of how good this would do against them. But if they play a lot of dark monsters, or they play a lot of monsters that would allow you to get this guy out to blow up their field, you side this in. It'll do wonders for you. You know exactly what to side out in the extra deck for these two. Yeah, so that's that package. And then these are the cards to deal with control decks. Twin Twisters. I play Twin Twisters over Cosmic Cyclone, again because of the synergy with discarding. You can discard Toy Vendor plus off of it and still pop 2 cards. Same thing with Chain. It's really good. And then 1 red reboot, Saki, but shuts down control decks, and control decks, in my opinion, have a really good matchup against Fluffals, so hopefully if you draw this, that can put you over the top. There you go. That's the deck profile. I did mention I was going to talk about some cards that you could put into it that would make it better but are expensive. The main one that I've seen people running and makes perfect sense is Forbidden Droplets. The card is really, really good in this format, and the discarding is fine with this strategy because of Edge and Chain. So it has a lot of synergy with the deck, and it's just a really good card. Lightning Storm obviously is better than Twin Twisters. It comes up mostly, turn 2, which this deck can go turn 1 with True King, but also it's probably its best line is going for the OTK right now that Dragon Buster is banned. So Lightning Storm would be good. yeah, I don't have the money for that. And then what else? You could run Ash. I do have some Ash Blossoms. They're in my Prank Kids deck right now. You could run Ash. I don't know what price Ash is at right now. I've seen people run Performapal Popper Up. It's not an expensive card. You could look into that. It's for draw power. I haven't really tried it out that much because I find myself drawing so much with the wings combo that I don't feel like I need more draw power. But definitely gonna try it out when I get a chance. So yeah, that's the deck. Let me know what you guys think. Give me tips if you think something should change. Keep in mind that I don't want to spend $50 on a single card. I think my personally set limit of amount per card that I buy is $15, and I've only done that once for Sabretooth before I knew it was getting reprinted. And then I also bought Kraken right before it spiked in price, so that one was like $9 when I bought it. So yeah, I don't really buy cards that are above $15. That's why I made this deck. Most of the cards in it are really cheap, especially with the recent wave of reprints, so check it out if you're looking for a cheap, fun strategy that sometimes can hang with the big boys. Alright guys, got some other content in the works. Gonna be making some videos about prank kids, hopefully, and some more duels with my brother. Stay tuned.